Okay, and I have to keep an eye for anybody else who wants to come online. So let me get up the participants. So anyway, today we're going to look at your, for those of you who have it, we're going to look at your warm-up projects, your first project in clay, where you can make whatever you wanted. And we're going to look at these in a very specific way. I'm not going to critique them. I'm not going to go, oh, you could have done this more or that more. That's not the point of this. So, but I want you to kind of see if you can get to the point of this, and I'll talk about it afterwards, but just pay attention to what I'm looking at, okay? So, I'm just gonna, instead of asking for volunteers, I'm just gonna go in order that you are on my screen, if you don't mind. And so what I'd like you to do is is for you to show everyone your project. So you have to have your phone or a camera on it, and maybe you can even go around a little bit so we can see a different view of it. But just say, what it is you made, what you had in mind when you made it. So Diana, do you mind going first? You'll have to unmute. You're in a
Okay,
car?
sorry. I just got, yeah, I'm going to a doctor's appointment. So I just got out of the car.
Oh, do you have time? Do you have time to do this?
Yeah,
Okay, good.
it's not till 10. So I figured I have time.
Okay.
All
Wow.
right. So I chose to do, I don't know if you can see it.
Oh yeah.
It's a flower.
Uh-huh.
I really like succulents, and I kind of did, I don't know if you saw my, for my posting, my two things that I put in, they all kind of have like a pattern, like a repeat to me that always kind of catches my eye. And even my clothes, right? Anything that I buy, like even like see the shirt, it has stars on it. I like things that have like design in it,
Okay.
or repeat. I know for my flower, I put a little bit of texture in the middle, right? And then each petal is my fingerprint. So I know
Awesome.
you can't really see it, but in the pictures that I had posted, you could see my thumbprint indented in each one.
Very good.
And I know I could have maybe put a little bit more detail into like the flower petals, like, kind of squishing them, making them a little bit more alive.
Yeah.
But I've never really worked with clay before. So it's kind of like my first run around.
Well, it's actually a pretty sophisticated strategy. The idea of, I actually have a PowerPoint. We're going to be doing our first bigger project coming up here. The module's open. I just opened it today.
Sorry, let me put it on mute.
Okay. So anyway, we're going to do our first bigger project now coming up. It's open today, but in terms of decorating it, I have a whole PowerPoint on visual rhythm and repetition and how you can fill the whole thing up. So actually, it's a pretty sophisticated strategy of design, which is cool. So very good. Okay, so the next person would be Michelle. Could you go next, please?
I can, and I will try to keep my face out of the camera as much as possible right now.
Okay.
Sorry, my hands are covered in clay. Hi, I look awful right now.
All
Turn
right.
that way.
I can barely see it. There's a light in the middle there. Anyway, so yeah, if you can get your project in there, we'll look at that.
Yeah. So I really like clowns. And a while ago, I wanted to have this little mug that was like a bear. And I kind of wanted to paint it to look like a little clown. So I just made myself a little clown bear.
Can you hold them up a little? It's hard to see because of the lighting. It's very, very hard to see. There we go.
Yeah.
A clown bear.
Yeah.
Very interesting. Okay, so on this you were making kind of a you're sort of making, it's kind of realistic, isn't it? I mean, it does look like a bear, and it's and so you're sort of going, you're making sort of an imaginary character, a fantasy character, but based on realism. Would that be a fair estimation?
Yeah.
Very good. Is he solid, by the way, or is he, could you carve him out, or remember
I
the?
carved out the bottom a little bit. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. 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 Very good. You can even do a little knife thing going on. Yeah. A little bit higher. So there's nothing more than an inch thick anywhere, and then it'll dry out. But very good. So we have realism and fantasy, which is an interesting combination. Um, and in Diana's one, we had the repetition of design. Also, we had a sub. Diana also had a sub. I'm going to admit Linda here. Diana also had a sub strategy. Her main thing was repetition, but then also with the fingerprint of each one. So it was really kind of emphasizing the handmade quality. So that's an interesting strategy as well. So there's a couple strategies happening there. Okay, very good. Thank you, Michelle. And let's see, next person on my screen is Linda.
Hi.
Hi, Linda.
I would show it to you, but I left it downstairs and my granddaughter just dropped it on the floor and broke it.
Okay,
I actually posted it, so
Okay.
you'll be able to see a copy of it. It's
Okay,
not
well-
all that great. It's a little something that I did, but I'll do better next time. Well, at least I did get a picture of it.
This is just a warm up. I won't worry about it now, and I'll look at it when I go through.
Okay.
it.
All righty.
Good.
Uh-huh.
Next person would be Daniel.
Hey, so
Hey.
I did my warm up on my wife.
Oh wow,
Um,
that yes, she must be. Oh, go ahead.
She was at the time she was 6 days overdue.
Wow.
And unfortunately, the only thing I regret about it is that I wasn't able to hollow it out because I was going to wait till it's a little more cheese hard.
Yes.
To help me keep the form, and we got admitted to the hospital, and so we had him, and it dried out. But
Congratulations, man.
thank you.
The clay dried out, not the kid, right?
Yeah, exactly. Actually, he's a little dried out too. They say we overcooked him a little bit.
Very good.
So this was done completely from memory because unfortunately she didn't, stand there for me. But
Oh, that's
um,
fantastic. Well, congratulations first.
thank you very much.
Now, second of all, do you happen to have just technically, do you have a power drill at home at all?
Yeah, I was gonna try that out actually. Just maybe get if I wait too much longer, it'll get really ceramic, really, or not ceramic, but it'll get really hard.
Okay,
Whereas I'll
okay,
need a
okay.
ceramic bit maybe just to avoid chipping it away too much.
Oh, I'm not sure about that. Clay it just gets brittle. It'll still,
Right.
it can, if you use a regular drill bit, the sand can kind of wear out your drill bit. But not,
Right, the edge.
it's not hard. It gets hard, but brittle, but it's easy to drill. So I think a drill, like maybe a quarter inch or more,
Mhm.
just up the middle. So you're about, I don't know. So there's nothing about that more than that much thick. You can maybe even put 2 holes in there. But
Right.
anyway, very good. So what you did
Thank you.
was, so the strategy here was you're doing realism from
Mhm.
memory. It's your wife, and also it's sort of it's current. It's site specific. It's like the object belongs in this moment of time.
Right.
So in other words, it's not just an object out of thin air. It really, it's your life at this time. Very, very dramatic time, I would say.
Yeah.
How did the birth go? Was it good?
Oh, it was good. He was born on the 30th at 3:19 in the morning, 3:16 in the morning, and relatively quick, but yeah, she did really well.
Excellent. Yeah, every birth story is different, and it's a
Yeah.
kind of it can be a very traumatic time, but also a very magical time. So anyway, congratulations.
Thank you.
And very nice sculpture. I like it. So anyway, so we have realism, and we also have site specific and biographical. That's sort of the strategy used. Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, so Orlando, you're next.
A dead snake.
You hold it a little closer, and you colored it too. Very good.
Yep.
And the snake, is it on a rock or something, or what's going on there?
It's just, it's on grass atop of a rock, and the
Okay.
snake is going inside the rock.
Very good. Okay, so what we have is here is you did realism and you had a snake. There's actually something else going on here is you sort of made what I would call is a diorama, which is you made a situation. So it's not just the snake, but actually the location. It's like if you went to the Natural History Museum, you would see the snake in a fake snake in a what do you call it? A room that they've decorated that's natural to the snake. So you've made a whole environment for the snake, a rock and grass to crawl into. So we have realism, we have sort of a diorama that you made. Okay? Very
Yeah.
good. Thank you, sir. And last but not least, we have Hannah.
Good morning.
Good morning. How are you?
Good.
Good.
I chose to do like a little mushroom house. I meant to spend more time on it, but I got really overwhelmed. So this
Okay.
was part of the house that I had like imagined.
Okay.
It has like a little chimney, but I just didn't get, I didn't have enough time to make a bunch of detail on it. And I really struggled with that little window.
I bet. I can tell. That's
Yeah.
not easy to do. So, and it looks like you made it hollow too, actually.
Yeah, I did.
Very
So,
good. So you pinched it out. It looks like you actually have some skill, some previous skill.
Yeah, it took a really long time for how simple it is.
Yeah, I bet. Okay. Well, very good. So what you did was sort of a mushroom house. So it's sort of like a fantasy little house, like something else that you wouldn't live in it, but some sort of imaginary creature, or if you believe in fairies, I guess.
Yeah.
or gnomes or whatever would live in this house. So so we have a little bit of fantasy and imagination going on there. Very good. So does anybody, let me let this person in. V is going to be, let's let V, she's going to be surprised because I am going to ask her to look at her thing right away. Hi, V, are you there?
Hello.
Hi. You know, we just looked at everybody's piece. Do you mind if do you have your warm-up project available?
Yes, I do.
Would you mind turning your camera on? I could see it just for a second.
Sure.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, there it is.
Hey.
Hi. So I have it under a plastic bag right now to keep it.
Yeah. By the way, while you're unwrapping it, I just wanted to say to everybody, and also people that will listen to this later, that once you're done with your piece, just keep it uncovered and let it dry out. Because we can't, if you do want to fire it, we can't fire it if it's wet. So you want to let it dry out. And then if you bring it into school to get it fired, what I do is anything you have available to get fired is to make a nest for it in your car, or like in a box, and then take it in your car. But make a nest like out of blankets or towels or something. So it's because it gets stronger as it dries, but it gets very, very brittle. And so you want to kind of protect it. So make a little, you can even use paper toweling or plastic, just make a nest for it so it's very soft and gentle. And then when you're handling it, be careful if it's delicate at all, make sure to handle it from the strongest part. Just treat it like an injured bird, kind of. That's a good rule of thumb. But let it dry out, and then when you transport it to school, put it in a nest of some kind so it doesn't break. Okay. Anyway, V, go ahead. Let me see your. Do you have your project?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just didn't want to interrupt with the plastic bag.
Oh, that's fine.
So this is mine.
Can you hold it a little? There we go. Oh, okay. Get it a little closer and full in. Oh, there's a lot of detail there. So tell me about him. Wow.
So this is this bunny lady that I did. I don't know if you can tell, but she's holding a thread and a needle in her hand.
Oh my goodness.
She has buttons for eyes.
Wow. Okay. So we have this is a fantasy creature also, a lot of detail. I would call this, but it's also, what's the word? Is it anthropomorphic when you make animals seem like people?
Yeah.
Well, the strategy I would say would be a fantasy, but anthropomorphic, where the animal is turning into human, but also like a stuffed animal with button eyes. So there's sort of an interesting juxtaposition of actually kind of intense realism with fantasy and anthropomorphism. So that would be the strategy. Very good. Thank you very much for showing me that. So be very careful. It's gonna be delicate, those details. So as they
Yeah.
dry out, don't touch those things. Do you have a little bit of hollow in the inside or a hole going up the bottom of it at all?
No.
So it's solid right now?
Yeah. It's pretty
Did you get
heavy.
did you get a fettling knife in your toolkit?
I did.
Yeah. So just be very careful, hold it in the strong part and drill a hole up the middle so that water can get out of the form and then you can fire it. Otherwise, it might explode in the kiln.
Oh, okay.
Because water gets stuck inside and turns into steam, steam expands. But if you give it a place for it to come out like that, that will help. Okay?
Okay.
Okay, so does everybody kind of get what I was doing? Do you see sort of you weren't here, V, but with everybody else, did you kind of see what I was getting at with this critique? I wasn't, okay. How would you express it?
I would say it's more on the concept versus, you know, like you mentioned, what you could do better, or so it was just trying to help realize the concept that you were going after.
Excellent, very good. Another way I would call it concept. Concept means an idea, that you'll have an idea that you made your work by. Another word for that, I call it a strategy. In other words, I said you can make whatever you wanted. So everybody made whatever they wanted, but you all followed a specific strategy that allowed you to do your work. You didn't just pull it out of thin air. You made something according to an idea and you followed that through. So we had fantasy, we had realism, we had anthropomorphism, we had site specific, we had pattern and design and repetition. So these are strategies we follow. So it's interesting, no matter what you're doing, you follow a strategy. And the sooner you know what your strategy is, the more you can go into it deeper. For instance, if you start making something and you're not conscious of the strategy, then you may just sort of switch horses halfway through and start doing something else and then start doing something else. And pretty soon it's sort of a hodgepodge and you kind of stay superficial. Does that make sense? So it's good to know what the strategy is. And so that's the point of this warm up, was to show you that you actually on your own develop strategies. Now, art making and schools of art making, if you're straight to study art history, is about the different schools of strategies. You may have heard of abstract expressionism, or you may have had, I used words like realism and narrative. It tells a story. Diorama is a strategy. There are artists that spend their entire careers making dioramas. So it's good to know what strategies appeal to you. And you can then employ that in your work. You might say that becoming an artist is, besides skill acquisition, is really to find your own voice. And finding your own voice means, you know, like what do you want to express? And this is true whether you're a writer or anything. It's to find your voice, is to find the strategy that speaks to you the most, that allows you to go into things deeper, so you don't stay superficial, and allows you to see new things by exploring this avenue of strategy. So I'm going to stop recording now. That's the main point of this whole thing. And then I'm going to go over to the module. So everyone from here on out who's not here that's seeing this, you want to go through the module then. I'm going to go through that now. Maybe I should do that while I'm still recording. Maybe I'll do that. So let's see here. That's gonna be crazy to share screen and record at the same time. So let me get my screen up first and then I'm going to share it. dashboard, login, Art 20, and modules. By the way, everybody, good job. It showed today. I liked your work. That's cool. So here we go. I'm going to share screen now. Okay, everybody see this? Or anybody see this?
Yes.
Okay, good, good, good. So here's the module, and this module is actually broken up into two things. That's this, I call it week 1 and week 2, just because we have 2 weeks for this project. The first week is making the project, and the second week is decorating it. However, you can make it pretty quickly, and you can decorate it forever. I even said in the assignment that I can spend 3 to 8 hours easily on one object, just decorating it and surface design stuff. So anyway, this particular module, so into 2 weeks, we're going to make about 4 or 5 or 6 objects. It's up to you, or 10 objects, depending on how you want to do it. And then we're going to, on some of those, we're going to just decorate the crap out of them. And to follow up from what we did this morning, the first 2 parts of the module are about art strategies. And the first one is, I'm just go ahead and bring it up here. I wrote down a bunch of strategies that artists have spent entire careers on. Like I said, and they mix and match these too. For instance, you can do representation, which means it looks like something, like Daniel made his pregnant wife. So it looks like a pregnant wife's body, but there's a narrative to there in that it tells a story. Well, yeah, she's going to be giving birth. It's also site specific in that I have site specific here somewhere. It's in here somewhere, but it's where it relates to his, or biographical, it relates to his life. So all these strategies are involved in one. Orlando did the diorama. So anyway, I wrote these down, and you should look at all of them because there's some very interesting things that might really appeal to you, like political art or earth art. You can Google some of these too. There's a site specific, multiples and groupings, which is a little bit like the flower, almost sort of a multiples and groupings. But anyway, that's more design and repetition, which I go into somewhere. But anyway, what I did, so here's a sheet that tells you all these. So you can go through these and see if any of them appeal to you. That's why I included this here, this sheet. And again, you're never just making something out of thin air. You're always following some kind of strategy. Now, going back to the module 4, which is published now. I just released it last night. And then I have a lecture, art strategies lecture PowerPoint. So please look at that. What I do is I actually go through the very first row on that sheet of strategies and show you samples of each one. So you get, I'll just go into it quickly. I'm not going to show you the whole thing at all. So I'm going to start it for a second. Hi, everybody. Happy Saturday. At least right now it is. And so we've just looked at your work document or PDF that I put in. There you go. So artists' careers will be spent, like I said, around one strategy, and even a whole. So what I do is I go through this whole first row. It doesn't take that long. It's what, well, actually almost half an hour long. So take a look at it, but I give examples of each one. That way you get a really good idea that these are actually kind of involved and kind of cool, and you can really go into each of these strategies, okay? So do see that, and that's a follow-up for this critique, okay? And that's the end of that one. Let me go back. To the module. Okay, so those 2 things are following up from today. Then we do our journal for week 2, our second week of it, which is the visual treasure hunt, which you guys just handed in this last week. So we're going to do 2 more entries this week, and also 2 more entries next week. I'll remind you with announcements. So 2 this week, 2 this next week, and then I get to the assignment. And what I'd like you to know, this one's Truth to Materials, which I do cover in this PowerPoint right here, Truth to Materials, is one of the strategies. And so what we're going to do is we're going to turn rock, decomposed rock, back into rock and landscape. So that's a Truth to Materials. But from there on, you can have any kind of sub strategy, which I talk about. So anyway, so we had the lecture and images of the rock project, the demo and how to make the rocks. So anyway, go through this whole, look at these two for sure, especially this lecture PowerPoint, then read the assignment, and then go into the lecture and images in the PowerPoint for the rock project. It'll hopefully inspire you. Your rocks, and this is repetition, doesn't sound very exciting to make a rock, but it actually is really cool. It is really cool. And you can decorate them like crazy. And they can become figurative rocks. They can become message rocks. They can become busts. They can become anything. They don't have to stay a rock. But we start with the conceit of making a rock, of turning decomposed clay, a rock, back into rock and landscape. So anyway, and I gave you, I think, a lecture on clay. Yes, the story of clay over here. So now you know what clay is, and we're going to turn clay into these things. So anyway, I show how to do that, and you'll make a bunch of objects, and then the following week, or you can start this week, because the making them doesn't take that long. And you can make a bunch of them. If you want to make a grouping, you can make 10 or 20, I don't care. But I show you how to make them, and they'll build pretty quick, and then you can shape them and then start decorating on them. And I talk about decorating, and I give the visual rhythm texture PowerPoint. So that'll be a good thing for you to help decorate it. So there's the demo on decorating. Okay, so and then week 3 also, which is of journals, a visual treasure hunt. So we're going to do 2 weeks in a row of 2 entries each week that you'll turn in every week. Those weeks you'll turn in 2 entries each week, and that'll be it in the journal. So anyway, that's what the module looks like. Are there any questions on that? I can stop sharing right now.
No, I'm good.
Okay, and if there are, no problem, just go ahead and ask. But let me also say that I'll be on the computer at 9:30 on Wednesday, and 9:30 one Monday, and 9:30 the following Wednesday. Not for class, just in case you have questions or concerns, or want to show me something, or you don't know how to do something, you'd like some help, or some inspiration or whatever. Just I'll be available. I'll be on for about 10 minutes. If no one shows up, I'll leave. But you're welcome to show up and ask questions. Oh, someone's chatting here. 1 second. Let me see what they're saying. Oh yeah, okay, Diane, it's a doctor's appointment. Okay, cool. And that's all I've got for this morning, unless you have a question. I'm going to stop recording.